Hi, and welcome to the Jans Report. I am Austin. You probably have heard at some point that women are better political leaders than men, or that women are better bankers because they take fewer risks than their male counterparts. This episode will go through how the viewpoint that one gender is better over the other is controversial, as well as explain why a lot of people claim that women are better than men when it comes to leadership. Let us first start with why many people claim that women are better than men at being political leaders. Throughout history, women have not been allowed to hold such high-level positions that involved taking control of an entire nation. However, a few historical examples of women actually in that top position of power exist. Some examples of women in power include Catherine the Great of the Russian Empire, Premier Alison Redford, Prime Minister Kim Campbell of Canada, and Margaret Thatcher, the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, who also got the nickname the Iron Lady. Not all the women listed, however, were great leaders, and some were prone to the same issues that male leaders are prone to, like being completely corrupt. For example, Vladimir Putin, who could care less about the well-being of his own people and would kill them in order to start a war. They could also not appeal to the eyes of the majority vote, like Donald Trump, who became a one-term president because of his numerous scandals and racist thinking. Alison Redford shares some similarities to a corrupt leader, although not quite as bad as some other leaders accused of corruption. Back when she was the Premier of Alberta, Nelson Mandela, the famous South African leader who ended segregation between whites and blacks in the nation, passed away. The scandal was that Miss Redford used money taken from the taxpayers, which is used to pay for other government services, to fund a trip to South Africa so that she and her daughter could attend Nelson Mandela's funeral. After news of this broke out across the province of Alberta, she was forced to leave and pay back the money that she used. This brings me to Kim Campbell, who I mentioned earlier, became Canada's first female prime minister and also had the shortest time in power after taking power from Brian Mulroney, who resigned, which promoted her to the position of prime minister. And of course, she would also lose the election. She lost the election for a number of reasons. One is that she took over for the very unpopular Brian Mulroney government, which didn't help her chances of actually winning. The main reason why she lost is that she did not inspire confidence in the voters, almost admitting defeat to important issues during her time, like high unemployment, to her scandal. The other reason for her loss, like I said a few minutes ago, is that she was involved in a scandal which would become known as the Somalia affair, that she tried to cover up when she was the Minister of Defense. A short explanation of the Somalia affair is that a Canadian parachute regiment back in 1992, an incident between Canadian soldiers, part of this regiment, occurred and resulted in the abusing of unarmed Somalis who snuck into the base and were shot in the back. These are both important things to look at when considering if one gender is better than the other at a specific job. A person using data to argue that women are better political leaders would say that there are more examples of male leaders doing bad things like corruption, committing crimes against their own people, and few examples of women doing this exist, which makes them better. While it is true that few examples of women doing the same behavior exist, it is only recently that women are taking on leadership positions traditionally held by men. When examining whether or not a person is better than someone else due to their gender needs to be done carefully. You can't just base that one gender is better than the other based on the data that has been collected. As I mentioned, the data regarding women as superior to men is incomplete because throughout history, women were not allowed to hold positions of power. Instead, they were encouraged to stay home and look after the house while the men went out to work and gained positions of power, building up the data that they are worse than women. It is also important that women, like men, will gain experience on whatever job they do and are prone to making the same mistakes as their male counterparts, being prone to corruption, and even making bad decisions, like the unpopular female mayor of Calgary, who so far has not lived up to what she promised. Some of this include doing things she did not mention in her political platform, like declaring a climate emergency, which no one knew that she was going to do and had an impact on a new sports arena that was being planned. Before, it was not a huge requirement to add green energy to a building, which can be expensive, but due to this person's election, that became a necessity. This proves that one gender is not better than the other when it comes to politics and other jobs, but rather is based on the experience of the person who intends to hold a leadership role. Before I go, here is today's funny picture of the day. A science experiment went wrong. If you like this video, hit the like button and consider becoming a subscriber to be notified when a new video goes live. I will see you in the next Jan's Report.